Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa alihi tayyibin tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Wallanatu da'imatu ala a'daihim ajma'in ila qiyam yawmiddin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. المسألة ابن صدقة قال سئل جعفر بن محمد عليهما السلام عن الحديث الذي جاء عن النبي صلى الله عليه وآله صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. The sixth Imam is asked about a question about a hadith that the Prophet had mentioned. A question regarding this hadith. He asked the question, the hadith of the Prophet is as so: In afdal al-jihad kalimatu adlin, that the greatest jihad is the kalima which is adl, is the, recite the salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, is the word that is just. When in the Imam in Jair, in front of the oppressive Imam, oppressive leader. That was the hadith of the Prophet. So this man who's asking the sixth Imam alayhi salam is saying, Ma ma'anahu, what is its meaning? Then Imam alayhi salam replies and says, Qala hadha ala an ya'mura biqadri ma'rifati. That he should, the meaning of this hadith is, he's telling that person, the hadith is saying that you should guide and order, do amr to that Imam Jair based on his intellect. وَهُوَ مَعَ ذَلِكَ, and with this, if you have this in mind, يَقْبَلُ مِنْهُ, he will accept it. وَإِلَّا فَلَا, otherwise no. And this hadith is very interesting hadith because you can interpret it in many ways. Because of the use of the pronoun he. He is ma'rifah, he will know, he has to say. So it's a bit, has multiple interpretation. But before we begin, let's look at some background behind this hadith. Number one point that we can think about is that this man who is coming to the Imam is talking about the hadith that the Holy Prophet mentioned. That means this hadith now should be, possibly, plausibly, in the hadith of the Ahl Sunnah also, because it's from the Prophet. It's a famous hadith, that's why this person is coming to ask the sixth Imam alayhi salam. And fortunately it is there. It has the same words except the part where it says in the Imam in Jair that you should say the just word in front of the Imam that is oppressive. In the Sunni hadith, two hadiths, one mentions Amir in Jair, a leader who is Jair, similar meaning, or Sultan in Jair, a monarch who is an oppressor. So this hadith is famous, and that is why this person came with this question to the Imam alayhi salam. He didn't understand it. Number two, it says the greatest jihad, afdalul jihad, is when you say a just word. We know there are two levels of jihad. There is the internal jihad, which is the jihadul akbar, where you fight with your own nafs. And the other one is jihadul asghar, where you fight with someone else outside. And we also know there are different forms of outside jihad. For example, you might internally be unhappy with that person and do jihad from internal sense. Or maybe when I'm talking about jihad, I'm also meaning amr bil maruf nahi anil munkar. That internally you are not happy with the oppressive person. It could be by action, that you take an action against the oppressive person. That's another jihad. Another could be the one that the Prophet here is mentioning, is the jihad by the tongue, when you say something against the oppressive ruler. But how do you say it? You might go to an oppressive ruler and harshly tell him something. You might tell him blatantly something. Or you might tell him nicely and softly something. So the question here, so the Prophet is saying that the afdalul jihad is when you are speaking with adl, with justice. Is it because I am saying something that is justice that the oppressive person is not observing justice? Is that the question? We're trying to figure out what is the question of this person that the Imam is trying to answer. Is it because of the way you speak with that person? What is the question of this man? And of course, in the Quran, if you know, the last part before we start opening up the hadith, we have in the Quran, the meaning of Imam is not the same meaning that we might think. For example, it says, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ. That Allah says, we have made them, the evildoers, the imams of those, they are the leaders, the guides towards what? Towards nar, يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ. So the Quran uses the word imam as guides who might guide you towards good or evil, towards nar or jannah. So here the Imam is talking about speaking against a leader, a guide that takes you towards Jahannam. Against him you should say something that is adl, justice. The hadith becomes more complicated. What is the question of this man? I thought the hadith is very clear. The hadith is saying, in front of an oppressive ruler, say a word that is justice. Speak just, speak. Well, not so difficult to understand in this hadith. Our ulama have a very nice way of understanding the meaning of a question from the answer. So for example, and remember, this person who is narrating this hadith is just narrating what he saw. He doesn't go inside the mind of the Imam and the asker and to say what they were thinking was this and that's why they say no. What was apparent to him, he narrates it to us. He doesn't know what's going in the mind of the questioner. He doesn't know what's going in the answer. He doesn't know anything. He's just reporting. He's not a marja who can break down every word and tell you what is the meaning. It's not like that. So the Maraja ulama have told us, if you want to understand what a question is, look at the answer of the Imam. Because the Imam understands this person more than this person understands himself. This Imam knows what is the context of this question. That this person has heard it from the hadith of the Prophet. What are the times today? What are the questions people have? What are the problems in vocabulary people have? How do people speak? All these people Imam alayhi salam has in his mind, and then he answers the question. So the way to know what the questioner is asking is by looking at what the Imam has understood from the question. That's why we know what the question was asking. Recite the salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So here the Imam is saying that the person should speak and talk to the oppressive leader ala qadri ma'rifatihi, based on his knowledge and ma'rifah. Based on whose knowledge? Based on the knowledge of the person who is advising, the mujahid, the one who's telling the oppressive one, or based on the knowledge of the oppressor. How should he speak? Based on what he knows or based on what the oppressor knows? So there are two interpretations. And both can be right. So let's see what do they mean. So number one, if you say that you should do amr bil ma'ruf and nahi anil munkar to the oppressor based on what you know, this is what Sayyid Sistani says in Tawjih al-Masail, Hafidahullah. He said the first condition to do amr bil ma'ruf, nahi anil munkar is know what is ma'ruf, know what is munkar, know what is good and bad. So you should know and then speak. Person comes to you and tells you, Shakir, why you listen to music? It's haram. Don't listen to music. My friend, do you know that there are some music that are halal and some are haram? Talk based on the amount of knowledge you have. Don't throw away fatwa of haram. What you know, say. Or when, for example, in a political situation, a person comes to the leader and tells him, what you are doing in this leadership position is wrong. Don't do it. Okay? So what's the solution? I don't have a solution, but you should not do this. You are speaking based on your own ma'rifah, which is very low. You have not helped the situation. You have made it worse. Now that oppressive leader, if he was really oppressive, now he's going to stand against you. Now I will feel more stubborn. I will do it now. Because you don't have a solution, you are blaming me. It has the opposite effect. If you want to reform, speak based on knowledge. Don't speak outside your campaign or domain. That's first interpretation. The speaker should have knowledge and then speak. Don't say something that you don't know about. Number two, oh no, speak the person, the advisor should speak to the oppressor based on the oppressor's knowledge. If he's very smart, speak as a smart person. If he's a dumb person, doesn't understand much, speak like a dumb person. We have this in our hadith many times also. For example, where we have this famous hadith that says, "Nahnu ma'ashir al-anbiya." We, the anbiya, how do we speak to the people? Umirna an nukhatib an-nas. We have been forced, ordered, commanded by Allah how to speak to people. To speak to people ala qadri uqulihim, based on their aql. I'm not going to start speaking about high-level stuff in front of children. There was a scholar, he was making a joke. He said that when he was sitting in front of the mimbar and he was speaking to the crowd, there are different types of people in the crowd. There were youngsters, there were middle-aged, scholars, marajeh. This person now felt, let me start speaking. He started speaking in a way that the youngsters understood, middle-aged, ulama, marajeh understood. Then he said, let me raise my level a bit. He started speaking a bit higher. The youngsters stopped understanding. Middlemen understood, ulama understood, marajeh understood. He said, one more. Raised his level of speaking. Spoke a bit deep information. Now, no one's understanding, only the ulama and marajeh. They said, no, not yet. One more step higher. He started speaking in a way that even the ulama and the marajeh stopped understanding. And he said, no, there is still one more level. He spoke so deeply that neither the youngster, middle-aged, ulama, marajeh, himself, he didn't know what he was saying. So talk to the elder, to the oppressor in the way that he understands. You're not speaking to yourself, you're speaking to him. You want him to change. Talk to the level that he is at. In fact, in the Quran, the very obvious examples how the Anbiya went to the Zalimeen. For example, Ibrahim alayhi salam, what does he say? إِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّيَ الَّذِي يُحْيِي وَيُمِيتُ. He goes to Namrud and he tells him, my Lord is the one who raises people and he kills them and makes them die. Namrud over there says what? قَالَ أَنَا أُحْيِي وَأُمِيتُ. Namrud is a person who likes to debate and argue. He says, even I give life, even I give death. And he killed one person and he left one alive. So now that is his level of knowledge. Then Ibrahim alayhi salam would have started giving evidence, intellectual evidences. No, he doesn't. He does something else. قال إبراهيم فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق. My Lord brings the shams and the sun from the east. What should you do? فأتي بها من المغرب. So now bring it from the west. Namrud was not a person who knew logic and intellect. He was a debater. So Ibrahim alayhi salam talked at the level of Namrud. You want debates? I'm going to give you an argument you won't be able to answer. You are debating, you are bringing people back to life. Now bring the sun from the west if you can. What was the result? Did it backfire? No. فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. That is when the oppressor realized, I'm a loser. Speak to the people at the level that they are, at the level of the oppressor. Recite the salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajah. So from this, it would seem the question of the questioner was not about what is jihad, was not about who is the oppressor. No. The question of the questioner was probably about what is this just word that you should say? Is it I should say everything and anything to any oppressor? I should just say justice? No. Imam is trying to say, and this seems to be my understanding of the hadith, Imam is trying to say that you should speak in the level of the oppressor. And that is why the Imam continues here. He says, if you do so, what is the result? وَهُوَ مَعَ ذَلِكَ يَقْبَلُ مِنْهُ. If you do like this, if you speak at the level of the oppressor, he will accept the message. Otherwise, he will reject the message. He will not understand it. So when you are speaking to someone who is doing something wrong, speak at his level. Don't speak at your level. He doesn't understand you. So go to his level and speak at his level. You might have thought that, okay, if that is the case, why not speak at my level? Why should I go speak at his level? It would seem this was the seerah, and this is probably the result why I chose this understanding, and not the one where you speak at your own level, not at the person's level. It's the Ahlul Bayt seerah. The Ahlul Bayt are an ocean of knowledge. If they were to speak at their level, no one would understand them. Not an oppressor, not a companion, not a Shia. They will not understand it. And there are Shia who did not understand it. So Imam spoke to the people, whether it's a Zalim, it's a Shia, at the level of that person himself. That is why the ulama say, when you are looking at hadith, look at whom the Imam is speaking to. If the Imam is speaking to a high-ranking companion, no, the hadith is very precise. If he's talking to a layman, take the hadith lightly. Don't take it too seriously. Don't pick on the words and everything. Take it a bit lightly. Because the Imam is speaking to a layman, he will use layman's word. If he's speaking to a precise person, knowledgeable person, then he will speak knowledgeable things. I'll give you a story and to wrap up this discussion. Imam Hadi alayhi salatu wasalam, recite the salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You might think, I still don't feel like I should stoop low to the level of the oppressor. I will speak my heart. Once Mutawakkil, one narration says that he went to search into the house of the Imam alayhi salam. They say he had weapons. So he went there, he couldn't find any weapons. So Imam was in the room. He comes with his soldiers, sits in the room in front of Imam Hadi alayhi salam. And then you have heard this story. Na'udhu billah, he offers a wine glass to the Imam alayhi salam. And himself, Mutawakkil, is intoxicated. Imam rejects. He doesn't accept the wine, obviously. And so Mutawakkil is now trying to play around with the Imam. He's intoxicated, his mind is not working. The Imam cannot tell much to him, he won't understand. So Mutawakkil says that, why don't you sing some shairi for me? Say some poetry. Imam says no, and he insists, no, recite some poetry. Then Imam does not give him poetry that is high class, high level, no one would understand. No, he gives him poetry specific to the Ghalib. This is the kalima adl, the just word, a word that is at the right place. Adl means to say the right thing at the right time. Imam gives him this poetry. He's saying, he's talking about those kings. They were on the tops of mountains, guarded by strong, brave men, referring to Mutawakkil. But those tops sufficed them not, didn't help them. After glory, they were taken down from their positions and put into holes in their graves. Imam is talking to Mutawakkil. How bad abode they dwelt in. A crier called them after they were buried. Imam continued. That the crier is crying over the oppressor who is buried now in the grave. Where are the thrones, crowns and treasures? Where are the faces that were at ease and luxury? Imam is talking to Mutawakkil. He's trying to raise his level up. That curtains and screens were put before them. The grave showed those faces while worms were fighting on them. Now these oppressors in the grave, worms are eating on their face. Imam is telling Mutawakkil. How long they ate and drank. But after that long eating, they were eaten. What was the result? Did Mutawakkil say, I didn't understand what you said? Mutawakkil over here, after listening to this shairi, he starts becoming aware that nasha, that intoxication goes away. He started crying. Mutawakkil of all the people, in the intoxicated state, this shairi, a shairi of all the things, not intellectual language, shairi, poetry, makes an effect on him. He takes the wine glass away and he offers to pay the debt of the Imam, which was 4,000 dinar. Talk to the oppressor at the level that he is at, not at the level that you are. That is what is effective. May Allah give us the tawfiq to speak to and advise everyone who is in front of us. We all have mistakes. But to speak in a way that it affects the person and should not be a way to show our power and arrogance, because that will give the opposite effect. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآل الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد.